there's tragedy in this. Welcome to the family. Hey, there's something missing. Only time will alter your vision. Never in question, lethal injection. Welcome to the family. Not long ago, you find the answers were so crystal clear. Within a day, you find yourself living in constant fear. Can you look at yourself now? Can you look at yourself? You can't win this fight.
All right, welcome to another edition of your Freedom Wake Up Call. I'm your host, Chip Darby. We are broadcasting from the Freedom Firearms and Defense Gun Range. We are so happy to have you guys here. Listen, what we're going to do today is we're going to bring in a guest to talk a little bit about what's going on in our world, in his campaign, and so on and so forth. And before I introduce the guest, I want you guys to understand there's been a lot of misinformation out there about the extent of the power, or who has the most power in the state of Texas. Some people believe it's the governor. Some people believe it's the lieutenant governor. But typically, the one who wields more power is the Speaker of the House of Representatives. And this is because of games that are played, committees that are set up. We saw this with Joe Strauss. You guys may not remember Joe Strauss. We're a little bit old in this room, but we've been around the politics for a while. The Speaker of a House is elected by the bulk of the representatives. The Speaker of the House then appoints certain committee chairs. These committee chairs can kill a bill. They can prevent a bill from coming. Let me tell you just a quick, brief background of how these backroom politics work. Say I were elected Speaker of the House. I go on and say, well, look, I really don't want that pro-gun bill to come out. But I've got my constituents want it, so I'm going to claim I support it. But you got a committee chair. Remember who gave you that committee chair. Make sure it does not come out of committee. And that's a very simplified version, but I think I'm pretty accurate on that. I have someone who's been involved in politics for a little while with us, gentleman I've known for a long time, David Covey. Now, David, how close am I to that assessment of the politics?
Well, good to be with you, Chip. I think that especially when it comes to the border issue, you can't overlook the governor's ability to take executive action. So I would say definitely he has the authority and the influence to do that. In regards to the Texas House, you're spot on. The Speaker has the authority. He can pass the bills he wants to pass. He can kill the bills that he wants to kill. And he can do that oftentimes without laying his fingerprints on it by passing it through committees that he's appointed Democrats to chair. The chairs of committees have complete discretion on what bills they can bring up for hearings and what bills to pass out of committees. Of course, they have to have a majority on their committee, but if they don't bring it up for a vote, it's not going anywhere. And so you can assign a bill to a committee that a Democrat chairs and have them sit on that bill, and you're effectively killing it without a vote.
And this brings us to the first question I wanted to ask you. We've heard the term rhinos over and over. People use the term rhino, rhino, rhino. But when we look at the fact that Texas is a Republican state, we don't even have constitutional carry. We barely have a unlicensed carry bill. Every step of the way, we are more like Democrats or what people would call rhinos than we are Republicans. So that term rhino, since we are a majority Republican state, do you think that is Republican in name only is an accurate term for the exception, or do you think that might be the rule?
Well, Republican in name only applies to people who go in, run as a Republican to get the votes, and then they go and act like a Democrat. So can you apply that to someone like Dave Phelan? Well, I think the people of Texas have to ask a question, and the people in District 21 here in Beaumont, Orange, and Jasper. And we have to ask, okay, we donate our money, we donate our time, we work hard to get Republicans elected. A lot of people go block walk, they make these donations, and then we elect Republicans because we believe they're going to follow the Republican platform, the Republican principles and priorities, and then right off, after we've won the victory, we've handed them control, the Republicans, under Dave Phelan, appoint Democrats. Now, there was an old hymn that we used to sing in church called Jesus, Friend of Sinners. And in that hymn, it talks about how Jesus changes the heart of the sinner and is their friend. Now, we should be, too. You're wondering where I'm going with this. It's Phelan, friend of Democrats, except he doesn't change the Democrats' hearts. He just lets them continue with their liberal, anti-American views and puts them in places of control. That's not how it's supposed to be.
Well, now, I understand you're running against Dave Phelan, but the principle, the whole idea, we have a lot of these in the House. I mean, we really do. Not just Dade, but we've got a lot of them in the House that don't follow the platform. How much? I mean, I understand there might be one or two things in the platform that we don't agree with, one or two things that we would say, hey, we'd like to see that changed, and that's what the delegates try to do. But how much of the platform should a person follow, in your opinion, to be considered an actual Republican?
Well, I've been involved in what are called conventions, and it's a state convention. It starts at a precinct level, has a county convention, and then goes to state convention, where we finalize this platform. There are planks in it, which are just a couple sentences that say what we stand for on different issues. And in Texas, we have 274 planks in our platform, or about that. And so you could disagree with plank, say, 235, which is something about the legislature, not being able to take action for the first 60 days of the legislature. And you might disagree with that and say they need to get started sooner. But if you're disagreeing with our priorities, to me, we have the platform, which is here's a list. We touch every issue out there, basically. But then we set aside 10 to a dozen priorities. And so if you're against the priorities, to me, that qualifies you as fighting against the Republican Party, because these are the things that the most committed and devoted Republicans go and shed blood, sweat, and tears to pass. And so you need to get behind those if you're going to run on our platform and in our primary. And I tell you what, we're right at the break. Let's take a break. We're going to come back and talk a little bit about the legislative priorities, if you don't mind, or the Republican priorities, if you don't mind. And, guys, we're interviewing David Covey. He's running for HD 21 against an incumbent. And this is an important race, a very important race. I hope you'll stay tuned.